Welcome to this survey findings from LTI, AWS, and ISG. And wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And we have a very distinguished panel with us. And to start off with, we have Vineet. Vineet, if you would like to introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Vineet Moroney. I am Executive Vice President at LTI and responsible for global SAP practice, having overall 32 years of experience, 21 years in SAP.
Thank you, Vineet. So next, Axel, if you could please introduce yourself.
Sure, Axel Streichardt. I'm located in San Jose, California. So welcome from my side as well. I'm with AWS for now a little bit more than 16 months. I'm coming more from a very strong infrastructure background, but in the SAP space for, I want to say a little bit more than 25 years now, also having worked for SAP. And here at AWS, I'm part of a very dedicated SAP on AWS team. And I'm responsible for, as the head of worldwide business development, for all kinds of business development aspects, SAP on AWS.
Wonderful, Axel, wonderful. And before I head over to Pedro, who is going to be our star tonight, right? So Pedro, I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Deep Joy. I'm a part of the LTI SAP on Cloud practice, and happy to be a moderator for this distinguished panel we have on board. And I will be running you guys through the entire presentation, followed by a very interactive panel discussion with our distinguished panel, right? So over to you, Pedro, to introduce yourself, and then we'll straight away move on to the key findings which you want to present.
Thank you, Deep Joy. I am Pedro Luís Bicudo Maschio. I've been with ISG for 4 years. I cover several different research reports for ISG. I have more than 30 years experience in IT, 25 of those related to consulting around sourcing practice. So I've been helping companies select vendors, providers, and structuring their transformation projects.
Wonderful. So let me quickly present Pedro some of the slides which you want to really talk through, right? So Pedro, before you start in, I think you would like to lay some background of what work has been done and what's basically the objective of this survey, and then we go straight away onto the survey and its findings.
Thank you. Okay. So we've done this research with 152 IT leaders across the world. So it's 80% of the respondents are in the Americas or Europe, which quite good represent how SAP is distributed around the globe. This 172 is spread among many different industries, which help us have a clear picture of the current scenario. So the key trends or the key findings are three. First, SAP is a consolidated trend. So it continues to sell, it continues to implement, it is going to the market speed of adoption. The second thing is that cloud is at the core of digital transformations, and pandemic has helped companies accelerate that, or has pushed companies to accelerate the digital transformation. So SAP with cloud are the core of digital transformations. And third is that many clients believe that maybe they can wait or go back to the past and have other ways of contracting and using ERPs, but every ERP company in the world is offering their solutions in the cloud. So it's not different for SAP. Cloud is the future for SAP. So there is no doubt that any new installments, any new innovations that you produce for ERPs are going to be in the cloud. Next slide, please. So what we found now from this survey, the current state of the environment, is that surprisingly 30% of the respondents are already using S/4HANA. So it's surprising because most of what you read on the press and communications you get the impression that companies are not accelerating the S/4HANA adoption. It's not true. So our survey, for my surprise, showed that 30% of the respondents are already there, and many others are going to move, as we're going to see soon. But the challenge is when we ask how many versions you have, and we enable them to have multiple choices, the other surprise is that you still have a large number of companies running older ERPs, like version 4, for instance. So 51% is still not even in the version 6. But notice that the percentages are above 100% because we gave them multiple choice, and that means that companies are running multiple versions of SAP in the same environment. So so there's a lot to do. When we ask about which clouds they are using, and also multiple choice, this is not market share, this is not revenue, this is just asking people what clouds you use. So there's no surprise in the response. We know that AWS is ahead of the competitors in terms of usage or adoption. And also we know that companies are using multi-cloud. So they may have one cloud for specific services and another cloud for others. So this is not a surprise, but represents the state that we have today. 30% using S4HANA, and most of companies using AWS and multi-cloud. Next slide, please. Then we ask, what are your plans to migrate? So we have 30% that are already using, and we have companies that are doing their projects right now in 2021. So we identified that by the end of 2021, more than a third of the companies will be running S4HANA. And then 53% of the respondents plan to do that in 2022 or 2023. That means that we are going to have 87% of the companies running S4HANA after 2023. So then after asking people when they plan to do the migration, and that's a big surprise too. So companies are not waiting for the end of the support for SAP to make a decision. They are deciding it now. It's just that the market is taking its pace, its own pace. There's market speculations or estimations that there's about 40,000 SAP clients to migrate to S4HANA, and SAP has sold 17,000 licenses so far. That means more than 30%. So we are well aligned with the survey and the reality when it comes to licensing. So this is pretty much what we expect to see. Half of the companies, more than half of the companies, doing their projects in the next 2 years. Next slide, please. Then what we ask is, we have many more data in the report that are going to receive later, but we ask, would you recommend S4HANA and cloud? And 88% of the companies say they would recommend in the next 24 months, which means the time to do that is now. And 76% say that they recommend SAP in the cloud. So we ask it, what would be the benefit? Which technology or innovation would you like to integrate with S4HANA in the cloud? And telemetry and IoT is by far the preferred and the most interesting thing right now, with 52% of the respondents. But then we look analytics, data lakes, and AI. There are three major reasons to use the cloud with SAP. So that's fantastic. So besides cost, we all know that the cost of the infrastructure is better to run in the cloud than on premise. You have savings, but besides savings, you have a big opportunity for innovation, and that's what we believe is driving the acceleration of S4HANA in the cloud. Next slide, please. Then, if companies are IT leaders are recommending S4HANA, they are recommending the cloud, they recognize the benefits, they see innovation potential, why they don't anticipate that decision. So we ask them what the reasons are. And that's well aligned with what our ISG advisors see in the market. The first is a real issue, which is taking SAP isolated from digital business priorities is not a good thing to do. So you need to align SAP with your digital transformation priorities, because you cannot compete for the budgets. For 28% of the respondents, they say the SAP budget is competing with other digital priorities. They should not be competing, they should be aligned. The other reasons I'll mention are related to lack of information on how to do S/4HANA upgrades and how to adopt the cloud, because concerns around compliance, security, data location are not can be resolved. So there are many companies running SAP in the cloud. There's many experience that you can share, and you can overcome those troubles. So configuring it correctly in the cloud is actually more secure than running on premises. The other thing related to products competing or complexity of the transformation, licensing concerns, and then we have 7% that admit we need more information. We don't understand the benefits. So it's really about knowledge. It's about getting more information on how to do it right. So this is pretty much the summary of the survey. We see the market going in the direction of upgrading S/4HANA, going to the cloud, and adding innovation. Thank you. Back to you, Deepjay.
Thank you very much, Pedro. That was really insightful, right? And I hope that what we are seeing across the industry, this is something which is very resonant of what the industry is heading towards, right? And you know what, on a very lighter note, right? So last year we started to run through a joke across the country, right? So we were talking world's best chief digital officer award, and the award goes to COVID, right? So COVID has accelerated the digitization, I would say 5 or 7 folds, right? What would have done typically in a normal course of time. And this is a testament, your survey is a testament of what we are seeing in the market as a reality, right? And without wasting much time, I will just quickly get into the panel discussion, right? So I will start off with Vineet, right? So Vineet, from a perspective of SAP, and you have been in this space, I would say for more than 20 years, and a practitioner, a practice head, globally talking to multiple customers. What's your point of view of how SAP is revolutionizing the way large enterprises or medium enterprises are building digital ecosystem? What's your point of view on that? Vineet, I think you are on mute.
So thanks, DJ. The first and foremost is that we are in the era of industrial revolution, fourth industrial revolution. It is all about digital, right? Pedro said that it is digital. So there are technologies like AI, ML, RPA. These are offering new opportunities, avenues to the businesses to create a differentiating models and go to the market and change the customer experience. Having said that, SAP also knows that these trends are going to be important, and therefore they started with a very structured, I would say, approach on how do you leverage these trends. So there are 3 layers in SAP's, I would say, digital transformation story. The first layer is a cloud platform, which they called as a business technology platform, which embeds AI, RPA, and other services. The second layer is all about the intelligent suite, which talks about the modern S/4HANA services coupled with industry cloud. Now, industry cloud offers the variation and differentiation which is much needed in industry. And third is all about the business network, wherein you can partner with your ecosystem seamlessly. And that's what SAP is trying to build, something called as a business transformation as a service. So you got the first layer, which is cloud platform, wherein you can develop, integrate all the application. Second is leverage the digital core, and third is leverage the business network and deliver business transformation as a service to your business. That's what my point of view.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Vineet, what's your thought about the adoption of this 3-layered approach which SAP is seeing? The customers are very keen on this type of approach, right? So what you are seeing from the pulse of the market?
So pulse of the market is that I would say that everybody wants to decustomize their system, right? They have heavily customized their system. They want to decustomize their system. From the simplification perspective, everybody is looking at, let me keep my code clean and do my customization on business technology platform. Right now, how I integrate through the business technology platform. So what I am saying is that function as a service is going to be emerging. Not software as a service, but function as a service is going to be emerging. And we see that function as a service is getting a bigger traction in the market. So these layer, like you leveraging digital core for simplification of the business technology platform for delivering function as a service is which we see as a trend in the market. At least our customers are trying to get into these type of situation, trying to simplify the things. I have got multiple customers where we are delivering this type.
Wonderful, wonderful, Vineet. So let me just go on to the next key thing, which is on top of my mind, right? So what I was thinking is that this survey found 67% of the decision makers are planning to implement S4 HANA by 2024, right? And most of them are inclined towards the pay-as-you-use model, maybe because of various reasons. So, so Pedro, from your perspective, right, and you have been an analyst talking to the both sides of this world, right? So what's your point of view?
Well, I think first is that companies want to move to a pay-as-you-go model. The traditional licensing is kind of unfair for some clients because you buy the license, you put that forever in your assets, in your accounting. But it's not a perpetual license because you need to upgrade companies usually upgrade from 5 to 8 years. So it's really buying another license. And then you have cost of maintenance. So this is an obsolete model. When you think about pay-as-you-go, it's disrupting the software model to a new model. So the new generation, the new leaders, they prefer pay-as-you-go. So this is one of the things. We want to pay for what we are spending. We don't want to pay for something that's going to be there in the books forever. The second is the adoption speed. IT needs more agility. So business requires more agility, is pushing IT to be more agile. If you go to your legacy systems, legacy ERP, and the business unit is asking you for an update, for a migration, for an improvement in that system, you're going to respond most likely. You have a large backlog of demanding of changes, and you're going to respond in 6 months. We are going to respond with the change. So that's not acceptable anymore. People need more speed, and they want to do DevOps. They want to have easy integration. They want to use APIs. So the new way of delivering IT needs an innovation and more speed. So moving to S4HANA and moving to cloud is not just about cost. It's about being agile and being aligned with the new demands of the business. So how can you go back to your executives and say, we need more time because we have a legacy application? That's not acceptable anymore. So people are pushing because of that. The other trend is data center decisions or data enterprises. So moving to the new technology as S4 and cloud, it's not just about, it's unleashing the data that you have inside your ERP. Today, everything is complicated to integrate. When you go to cloud and S4HANA and BTP that Vineet told us a few minutes ago, it's imperative to be able to share data, use data, and integrate with everything that you have.
True. Axel, what's your point of view on this?
Yeah, I mean that's really great insight, and the report really revealed a lot, and that's pretty much in line what we are seeing. But if you look at the other data that's in the survey, and Pedro mentioned that before, 30% are already running SAP S/4HANA, and that was a little bit surprise for me as well. And 87% plan to use it in the cloud. So running SAP in the cloud and continuing the SAP journey in the cloud is pretty much a given for the vast majority of our SAP customers. And as I said, that's also in line with our over 5,000 existing SAP on AWS customers. As the most customer-obsessed company in the world, we of course continue to provide our customers, like the people here on this webinar, options. Right? It's all about the options. and to work with them to determine the best strategy to migrate SAP workloads to the cloud. We can do this by, number one, lift and shift their current environment and increase, as you said before, agility and flexibility, and at the same time reduce the cost in average between 30 to 50%, according to a study that we did. For example, customers like Origin Energy migrated their ECC, CRM, BW, PI, GRC to AWS, resulting in 10% less response time for CRM, 20% less online response time, 30% less batch processing time, and 50% lowered operating costs. And this, when you think about this, we migrated a 50 terabyte SAP environment in less than 48 hours. I think that's a great success story. Number two, migrate to S4, and that's what we are talking about here. Migrating to S4 using tools and partners to reduce migration times and therefore complexity and risk by over 50%. We see companies like Bristol Myers Squibb, for instance, recently used SAP Selective Data Transition tool to move key data from the ECC deployment to a greenfield S4 implementation on AWS. They're also using AWS services to automate GxP compliance, what's resulting in a 20% lower cost and 90% less resources, plus less time in setting up HAs, or high availability, and disaster recovery. And number three is we see customers actually modernize their SAP landscape. And Pedro mentioned that before, because the SAP journey does not really end with S4 running on AWS. We see customers like Zalando are taking full advantage of our 200 plus services like what you just said, AI, ML, IoT, analytics, to innovate and leapfrog the competition. They use services like Lambda, Glue to get more insight on sales data and simulate marketing campaigns, resulting in reduced cost of insight by 30%. It also cuts their maintenance time by 30% and increases their business agility, enhances the customer services, and now they actually be able to track performance in near real time. I think there are some really good reasons, and that's what we're seeing here at AWS.
Wonderful. And I think one of, I guess I'm going to take those. Sorry for that. So in terms of what I was talking about is all the next question, right? And this is a very interesting question, which I just want to flow to the panel, right? So we think about, whenever we talk about SAP systems on cloud, we think about a lot of challenges with customers are facing. And we ran a survey, right? And the survey came back with some of the challenges which are very unique, right? So I just wanted to understand from Vineet, what's your perspective on some of the challenges we typically would see when we adopt SAP on cloud? And how do you basically mitigate those risks and challenges?
Absolutely. So I guess the three things which comes to my mind is, first is budget, right? Is it competing with my digital priorities, or do you have budget for this? So basically it's all about creating a business case for a cloud migration. How the cloud migration can help customer is going to be important. Second, which Pedro talked about, data security. I am 200% sure that data is secure. LTI is on AWS cloud. We run our business on AWS cloud, but data security sometime, again, we need to educate our customers saying that this is the data in cloud is more secure than on premise. Third one is ROI. So return on investment, right? Just Axel was talking about that we were able to reduce the response time by 10%. So if I have to do this, when I looked at my one of a customer, is there one of the thing was that in peak season, my cash transaction goes 20 times. And when it goes 20 times, do we have flexible capability and capacity to increase my power and serve my customer, right? And then we created a business case which was related to business, saying that moving to the cloud, you will able to do 6x sale because of the response time which we can get into the cloud and availability we can get into the cloud. So the third one is that how do you link the technical parameters to the business goals and make sure that business goals are delivered. So that's what I believe, that how do I make sure there is a budget and funding, how I make sure that the data security is being handled, and third is ROI. How do you link everything to business KPI and deliver those business KPI? That's what I believe are the three challenges in the industry.
Yeah, very true, very true. And you pretty much nailed it, Bennett. So what we are also seeing, the trend is from the survey is exactly going to that. So Axel, do you want to pitch in here?
Yeah. I mean, of course, we as I said, we are taking all of these concerns that customers have, and the list is a good subset of that we also hearing, and we're taking these concerns seriously, right? And we listen very carefully and help customers actually overcome these challenges before making any decisions in their SAP journey. For example, we hear the concern on data residency. It was on the list, right? Data residency, compliance, data sovereignty, especially from customers in countries with very, very strict compliance, data privacy, and data residency laws. Even though we have, today AWS has 25 regions worldwide, we have a solution actually for these circumstances and for these countries with these strict requirements. AWS provides something we call outposts for SAP, a fully managed service that offers the same AWS infrastructure, AWS services, APIs, and tools to virtually any data center, co-location space, or on-premises facility for a truly consistent hybrid experience. Customers can have fully functional AWS cloud capabilities such as scalability and flexibility in their own data center. It has the same strict, and you mentioned this before, it has the same strict security built in that customers know from our data centers worldwide. This will actually help overcome data residency or sovereignty challenges. At the same time, Outpost also solves the problem of applications with very low latency requirements. Now, in terms of cloud projects, competing with other digital business priorities, you talked about this before. We have seen customers realizing they can actually do both and therefore kill two birds with one stone. An analyst firm recently said that over 75% of customers have a cloud-first strategy, making SAP cloud migrations a priority. At the same time, customers use additional AWS cloud services to modernize their current SAP and non-SAP system in areas like AI, ML, IoT, or what you just mentioned before, analytics. By combining these projects, customers reported reduced budget spend by over 30%. So there's a benefit for our customers. And we see customers like Moderna. I think that's a known customer and a known name for everybody here on this webinar. They are known for their RMNA vaccine in COVID times. They have been all in on AWS for a number of years now. They use S/4HANA in conjunction with AWS services, which enables them to develop, test, manufacture, and distribute their clinical-grade pharmaceutical solutions with far greater efficiency. They're using AWS for their IoT-enabled manufacturing facilities to improve efficiency and implemented HA and infrastructure as code for S/4HANA and also for their other environments. So that helps them to scale COVID-19 vaccine to 641 million ordered doses across 30 plus countries. I mean, that's some significant insight.
Wonderful, wonderful. And one thing which I would say that I will just quickly take a minute's view from you, that when we talk about challenges, right, for SAP adoption on cloud, we always are too concerned about the tangibles, right? The intangibles we really talk about when we build a business case upfront, right? Like the whole AI, ML ecosystem, the integration with cloud native services, the benefits it's going to bring to the business, that's some things which are intangible, right? Time to insights for various sales and reporting functions, various planned maintenance activities? How do you integrate with IoT? What are you seeing in terms of trends, in terms of customers leveraging other cloud services and integrating with their core SAP systems, which is basically, I would say, the hub, and you have multiple spokes to various cloud systems? Axel, your view on that?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, what we have seen is that customers are, when you look at the SAP journey, right? So we see customers taking the initial approach, but then they're modernizing their SAP environments to areas, like AI, ML, IoT, and so on and so forth. So this is what I meant by, customers are not just, as it says in the survey that you just did, is they're not just looking at it one-dimensional and looking at it from an SAP perspective, but more from a broader IT perspective. And that's when, when you look at IoT or AI or ML, this is not just for SAP. So they're very quickly actually expanding this into other areas, non-SAP areas as well.
Exactly, and that's basically the beyond infrastructure play, right?
Correct.
Perfect. So let me quickly get on to the next question. So in terms of what key understanding, right? And this is a survey understanding in terms of CSPs, right? So how do CSPs like AWS address automation and security aspects on cloud? And I think, Axel, you basically touched upon it, right? So I would like to take some of your feedbacks on that. And we have got a very, I would say, mixed bag response, right, to the question which we asked across the survey. So your point of view on that, Axel?
Yeah, I mean, quite clearly for AWS, security is job zero, right? And it's the most important responsibility. I mean, with over 265 security features, we have dedicated network connectivity between AWS data centers and availability zones, plus the highest standards on end-to-end encryption technology. I can really say that AWS keeps customers' data safe. In addition, AWS supports more security standards and compliance certifications than any other offering, including PCI DSS, HIPAA, what people might know here on this webinar, FedRAMP, GDPR in Europe, FIPS 142, and NIST 800 171, for instance. This is helping satisfying compliance requirements for virtually every regulatory agency around the globe. We are also collaborating with SAP National Security Services, or better known as SAP NS2, to help public sector customers run the most mission-critical and sensitive SAP HANA workloads on AWS. I'll give you an example. The US Navy and SAP NS2 migrated their largest SAP ERP system, that's 72,000 users spread across 6 US Navy commands, to AWS. The milestone, and by the way, that came 10 months ahead of schedule, will put the movement and documentation of some $70 billion worth of parts and goods into one scalable space, so the information can be shared, analyzed, and protected more uniformly. When I talk to customers, it becomes very obvious that customers still use 80 to 90% of their resources, like people, time, budget, to keep just the SAP lights on. When these resources should be actually being used for something a little bit more innovative and for more innovative projects like AI, ML, IoT, analytics, right? Because ultimately customers want to advance in differentiation and they actually want to continue their digital transformation. We here at AWS, we want to provide tools and services that can help customers to reduce the time to do typical basis work, right? People here on this call probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Things like patching and copies, clones, and refreshes. And they want to do this and reduce this time by over 90%. For instance, AWS provides a solution to reduce the time to copy, clone, or refresh a production SAP system for test, dev, or QA purposes from days to hours. Now compare this to do this manually. Just recently, one customer told me that the manual process takes them actually 4 days, and now with AWS, it's only a couple of hours, and that's quite some savings. That saves resources ultimately that can work on way more innovative tasks, what I think. Another time-consuming task is to create a new SAP instance from scratch. I think everybody can relate to that here on this call. Imagine you have to set up the hardware, install the OS. You have SAP on top of that. You need to apply patches. I mean, honestly, that will take weeks. We here at AWS provide a solution called Launch Wizard, and you should keep that in mind because it helps customers spin up new SAP instances fully automated, including the server, the storage, the network, SAP software, and including the patching. So we just recently talked to customers like HP. HP is well known. And they shared with us that Launch Wizard helped them to deploy hundreds of SAP instances in hours, not days or weeks. I talked before about modernizing SAP landscapes and develop additional value to leapfrog the competition with deep insight into SAP and non-SAP data. That's very important. And customers are using data lakes or data analytics for that. The challenge that I hear from customers is the ability to extract, transform, cleanse, tag, and load the data into a data lake. Now at AWS, we're providing a service available in all of our cloud locations, and it's called AppFlow. Again, just keep that in mind. And AppFlow has a connector now for SAP. In a few easy clicks, customers can actually connect SAP with an S3 bucket and extract, transform, cleanse, tag, and load data, simplified and automated. But it doesn't stop really there in terms of innovation solutions from AWS. Think about mass SAP start-stop activities and time needed for large SAP landscapes. We actually have customers with hundreds of SAP instances. Now, imagining starting and stopping these manually takes probably days, while AWS provides the ability to mass start and stop instances and reduce the time by over 90%. I give you two customer examples that demonstrate how AWS can help customers overcome automation and security aspects. ENGIE, a European energy company, continues to transition to renewable energy sources and are running S/4HANA and AWS to integrate disparate ERP systems and simplify its financial processes. They actually also use a data lake architecture on AWS that they call the Common Data Hub. Or look at Delivery Hero. Delivery Hero runs 18 SAP systems on AWS and has reduced the team's monthly billing runs from 20 hours to 90 minutes with serverless invoice generation, with data extracted from SAP HANA, and it's running on AWS. By the way, I also see that having experts and experience is a criteria for customers when selecting a cloud provider for their SAP environments. That's one of these tasks on the list or items on the list. I'm part of this dedicated team here at AWS for SAP workloads, including business and technical resources, right? We also have partner, engineering, marketing, and ProServe teams that help SAP customers to migrate SAP workloads onto the cloud and onto AWS. And last but not least, let me quickly talk about the risk. Of course, the goal is to avoid or minimize risks when running SAP. Think about the planned or, more importantly, unplanned downtime in your own data center. Every minute can translate to thousands and millions of dollars due to brand damage and lost business. Publicly available cloud provider downtime data actually revealed that AWS has 2.5 times less downtime than the next hyperscaler and provides SLAs for server and storage of 99.99% on a regional and 99.5% on an instance level. I think less downtime, less risk.
Awesome. So one further follow-up, right? So on this question, and maybe I can let anyone who wants to chime in on this. So what's your view in terms of cloud native automation versus open system automation, right? So let's give an example or parallels. So customers who want to have an automation, say a launch wizard, right? Mm-hmm. and then in the back end you have cloud formation or whatever native AWS automation mechanisms which support it, right? Vis-a-vis going for an all platform agnostic automation solution like Terraform, Ansible, Chef, right? And what's the propensity you are seeing in the market that whether customer wants to take side, because most of the customers have a strategy around automation, right? And how their existing automation blends with cloud providers automation to deliver an end-to-end automation ecosystem, right? So what's the trend you are seeing actually in the market?
That's a good point, because you're absolutely right. So customers have some automation, or they have some tools, or they have some solution that they're using today. The beauty of it is that things like Launch Wizard, what I mentioned before, it has APIs. So within Launch Wizard or in your existing environment, customers' existing environment, they can actually call out to Launch Wizard and use the common APIs to trigger, for instance, the additional capabilities that Launch Wizard might give customers, right? So it's kind of not replacing the current environment or the current solutions or the current automation. It's actually in addition to that, right? So it's complementing what customers have already. It's kind of filling a white space, kind of a little void that customers have today. And that's what I see from my customers that I talk to.
Wonderful. So in terms of the next questions, right? So Pedro, it's more from your perspective, why are SAP users more inclined to choose public cloud, and how does AWS unlock its new realm of possibility, right? So Pedro, what's your view? What are you seeing across this?
Well, AWS has pioneered, let's say, in cloud and offering support to ERPs in the cloud. So that's one of the things, and that leading position has helped it. It has more experience in helping clients do the transformation. I think Axel mentioned many of the features that they offer, like the data transfer and things like that. So the automation tool to do the migration. So there's many tools that AWS can help provides that clients can use to migrate their workloads to the cloud, including S/4HANA. But I mean, the company has more than 5,000 SAP clients, so it's not a small number, and so there's a lot of experience to share. But it's really after you do the transformation. I mean, because we are saying that IT leaders need more information and more knowledge to be able to clear their understanding about the advantage and moving to the cloud. Cloud is the future. There's no way that you're going to say, I'm going to build a new data center. I've heard some companies doing that, but it's very difficult to justify today. So you're going to go to cloud. So it's after you do the migration that the fun starts. I think that actually kind of responded some of those things like data lakes. So it's opening a new, I mean, if you look at in the past, the most difficulty you had in the ERP project was how to build a data warehouse, how to extract reports, how to build analytics. BI was a big name for a long time, and all the troubles. I mean, the people that are watching the presentation will remember how difficult it is to build a real good analytics and data warehouse with SAP. Now, when you go to cloud, you have data lakes, and you have hundreds, if not thousands, of tools to choose. So there's a lot of things that in the past was impossible to do. They are fast to do in the cloud. So people get, and after they put the data and share and use the data in data lakes, they start using predictive analytics. So we saw many cases of that. So I can predict sales. I can predict procurement. I can predict delivery. So the data is there, but today you cannot use it. When you go to cloud, you can start using it very well. And I think that AWS had plenty of tools to help clients do that. We saw interesting cases. There's a large retail that had a big trouble with updating their e-commerce site with the new data that they have to provide. I mean, the master data has historically been a very difficult thing for every ERP client, right? So how you maintain the correct data around your materials, about the stuff that you sell. And in one example, this is a SAP client and AWS client, and they did a fantastic thing that by using images, they take pictures of the products, and the artificial intelligence reads the image, extracts the information, and fulfills the master data inside SAP. So they have color, size, type, model, texture, even the quality of the clothes. They are able to do that from images, and they did their case study is fantastic. They put that together in 2 weeks. It was a few weeks to make it work. So after you go to cloud, that's a fun start, because you have all these many tools that you can use and many partners like LTI that you can provide that artificial intelligence models or use cases that are ready to use. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If you want to have fraud detection, if you want to have predictive analytics, if you want to assess, you have a call center and you want to know how to extract data from voice, the tools are there. So everything goes around the data lake. So you're going to move those recordings to the data lake, extract real-time, transform to text, extract real-time sentiment analysis, and have real-time response to the call attendant to what should I respond now? What's the next best action that I have with this specific client? So we see a lot of cases of that. So people would say, okay, but I can do that without SAP. Not if you are SAP is in the center of your data in your organization. You need to integrate with S4 or ERP. It can be with the legacy ERP, but you need to integrate so that you know what I have in the stock. What can I promise to a client? What is history of contacts that we had? What the transactions that we had with that client in the past? All this data is inside S4. You need to integrate with data lake, like exactly what Axel was saying a minute ago. And I think that that's the most value that AWS can help. Today, many clients are concerned with how I transfer data, how long it takes to migrate. But I mean, it's thousands of cases done. So the service providers, AWS partners can help you do that quickly. It's after you do the migration that the real benefits comes from. That's my idea.
And Pedro, a follow-up question to this, right? And maybe a quick follow-up. So with all this in mind, right? So there is a shift in this whole ecosystem, right? The innovation is very high scale, right? And rapid. With all this in mind, so when customers really start to look for what's the cloud provider whom I should choose to entrust with this whole complex ecosystem to be built in, what's your recommendation and what you're seeing across, right? So from a selection perspective, which customers typically should look forward to for their cloud?
As I said when I was doing my intro, I've been 25 years doing sourcing, so helping clients make that decision, how I can find the best partner. And the market has changed a lot in 20 years. In the past, clients were concerned about reputation, brand, so they would go with the largest and most famous provider because it was brand. Right, so marketing had a strong effect in selecting a partner. What the survey shows this time is really consolidates what we've been noticing for a long time, is that we want to do what you can deliver. I mean, your name is good, but it's not the priority. I want a SAP cloud partner that has experts, that has experience, that can provide me automation, security, and architecture. I want to trust this provider and then trust that they are going to deliver secure and the best optimized architecture that I can have. Because if I go to cloud with the wrong architecture, I may spend a lot of money on things that I don't need. So you need, because it's too many options. So which options are the best? So you need a clear architecture. So the first selection criteria for most of the companies that we saw, and we asked that, how do you select? If people can see that in the report. It's really automation, security, and architecture expertise is the main criteria. It's more common. And this provider needs to understand the client's environment. So they need to understand what are the days that you need more performance. I think Vineet was talking about that before. What months you need more resources? Am I going to contract services upfront, or I'm going to use spot instances? What's the best, not only architecture, but the best way of managing and governing my cloud architecture? So this is also expertise. Most clients expect frameworks and methodology for that. So they expect that you know and you have experience with our clients. Also from the survey, we saw that they expect vertical specialization. I mean, I want someone, if I'm retailer, I want someone that understands retail. If I'm chemical company, I want someone that understands chemical processes. So that's if I'm an oil company, I want someone that understands what's drilling and what's upstream and downstream. That's the terms that they use. So that's necessary. And that's the partner. That's not SAP software. That's not AWS infrastructure. That's the partner that needs to add that. So automation, reduced risk. Companies, I want a partner that is able to manage data correctly. So if they have the right tools to extract data from my legacy systems, transform the data, and load data into HANA, not just because I need to migrate from on-premise to cloud, but I need to do data transformation. I need the right tools to accelerate the process, to lower the cost of the upgrade and the migration, and also to reduce the risks. It's surprising that many people, we ask it, is cost important? And cost is like number 5 or 6 in their list of priorities. But it's above brand and reputation. So that means if I want the right cost, don't come to me saying because I'm great and the greatest and the most important and best known and offer me the highest cost. No, that's not going to go through. So it's really big change in the way that the market is responding. So you need to prove capacity, experience, and tools, and then have the right price. And then I'm going to consider other factors, right? So it's for me, it was a good understanding of how the marketing is performing today. It's very different from my colleagues. I mean, perhaps I'm not a young guy here on the call. So when I remember my friends 20 years ago, how they do the vendor selection, it was different from what it is today. You need to modernize that too.
Excellent, excellent. So in terms of a follow-up question, right? So Vineet, from your perspective, right? So how do you think LTI is uniquely positioned to offer what just Pedro mentioned, right, to its customers and position itself as a niche player for SAP S/4HANA on AWS?
So DJ, I would say that no, there are two things which are important, right? Axel said that no, a workload migration, but I believe SAP migration is not just workload migration. Pardon, Pedro, because SAP migration is a very skillful activity, right? And there are various scenarios which are happening in that: lift and shift, migrate and modernize, migrate and transform. That's what is we see, and right, picking up the right scenario, offering right productized offering to the customer is going to be important. So what we believe that as a GSS, we know how the product roadmap is going on, right? When we move to cloud also, what are other things you need to upgrade, right? If you're moving to, let's say, AWS cloud, you need to upgrade your Vistix component also. That is important because you just go and take your workload to SAP. It's all the ecosystem we need to take. So we understand the ecosystem, and that's what we can create a roadmap which will be de-risked. Second important thing which Pedro was saying is de-risk and accelerate. That's what is two words which comes, right? How do you de-risk and accelerate the migration? So we have invested in a platform which is called the Infinity platform. We have deployed at multiple customers for making sure that it is a one-touch migration. So making sure that this one-touch migration happens seamlessly. This is again got I think reviewed by AWS, and they also certified that this type of platform can help to reduce customer risk and accelerate the transformation. The third most important thing which I was talking about, budget and ROI, right? How do you create a budget? How do you create a funding for this? And how do you create ROI? So we have a unique methodology wherein we call it as a business first. Business first is nothing but that any transformation, whether it is to the cloud or anything, it has to link with the business. So in an automated way, we can look at the landscape, and while moving to the cloud, we can create other business KPIs which we can improve. And that's what is important, that we create a North Star for a customer, which they should look at when they migrate to cloud. And that is what is important for us, that when we migrate to the cloud, we deliver on business KPI. So I think in nutshell, we have productized offering. We bring an infinity platform which can de-risk and accelerate the thing. And third is we can do much automated way, business aligned, business case and ROI justification. That's what I think we can bring to the table.
Wonderful, Vineet. Thank you very much. And I guess we are pretty much coming to an end of this session. Before we do that, I just want to have 30 seconds from Pedro, Vineet, and Axel to quickly run through in terms of one piece of big, bold advice which you would give to customers who are looking to adopt SAP S/4HANA on cloud. To start off with Axel.
Sure, but before we do this, I just want to have one tiny little detail that I want to share with the audience here, because there's a certain expectations, right, from the audience here when they move SAP workloads to the cloud, that it has business and technology value. But very often we probably got approached by the competition trying to diminish the differentiating differences between cloud providers. Even SAP sometimes claims hyperscaler neutrality, what sounds a little bit like, hey, all hyperscalers are the same when it comes to SAP migration and workloads. That's like saying, hey, all cars are the same. They have the same engine, or they have tires, they have brakes, steering wheel, right? That's all the same. But the reality, it's not, right? You expect more flexibility, being able to scale up and down resources like server, storage, and network when needed, and of course, on demand, what Pedro just said. Paying only for what is used and take full advantage of the more than 106 price reductions for certain AWS services since 2006. That's what I'm talking about. But in addition, we have, I just want to quickly mention 3 unique differentiators. Number one, the platform. Actually, we're not running on, kind of bare, white boxes. We actually providing our customers running their SAP workloads on something called Nitro. Nitro is an SAP supported and certified platform that combines the flexibility and virtual environment, and it can scale up and down. But you have the advantage of the flexibility of virtualization, but not the overhead. You have 0 performance loss. The second one is availability or reliability. We have 25 geography regions, 81 fully cloud-ready availability zones, and plans to launch even more availability zones. And you see that we also have dedicated high-speed network connectivity between all these different availability zones across the globe. What also helps customers, building high availability and disaster recovery pretty much out of the box. And the third one is, I want to just quickly say experience. There's no substitute for experience. AWS is working with SAP since 2008, longer than any other hyperscaler. And when it comes to, SAP running and using AWS, it's actually including and solely working for Concur, S/4HANA, and so on and so forth. But we also, AWS is using SAP internally. When you look at MGM, they're an SAP customer. Zappos is an SAP customer. Twitch, an SAP customer, and I can go into the details. But in the end, I just want to put it and wrap it all together. It is the customers. It is your cloud journey, and you need a trusted and experienced cloud provider like AWS that will work with you and your needs. Whether you're on ECC and you want to stay, you want to lift and shift, you want to move to S/4HANA, or you want to modernize your current environment with things like IoT, ML, and AI to build analytics in data lakes. So I hope I didn't
No, it's just good. So you just spoke for everyone else. Thank you very much. So in terms of, I'll just quickly wrap this up. Thank you very much, all the panelists, for attending this. Really appreciate, and it was a really good discussion we had. And before I sign off, I just would like to request the audience that there will be a quick survey, and effectively you will receive an exclusive first access copy of the ISG survey and no comment disposition review by an expert. So please feel free to contact us. The details will be sent to you, and definitely the survey will be exciting for you to read through, and do reach out to us in case you have any queries. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Good night, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.